SkyAlert USA Weather Report for December 12, 2025. Main script 1650. Plus words. Opening. Good morning and welcome to SkyAlert USA, your trusted source for comprehensive weather coverage across the United States and Canada. I'm bringing you today's critical weather update for Thursday, December 12, 2025. And we have some developing situations that demand your immediate attention. Major weather event number 1. Catastrophic Pacific Northwest flooding. Tours. Let's begin with the most serious and life-threatening weather event currently unfolding across the Pacific Northwest. Washington State and parts of Oregon are experiencing what officials are calling potentially historic and catastrophic flooding. Governor Bob Ferguson has declared a state of emergency, and approximately 100,000 residents are under evacuation orders. These unprecedented flooding event is the direct result of a powerful and persistent atmospheric river that has been pounding the region since early this week. An atmospheric river, for those unfamiliar, is essentially a river in the sky, a long, narrow corridor of concentrated moisture in the atmosphere that transports massive amounts of water vapor from the Pacific Ocean onto land. When these systems stall over one area, they can dump extraordinary amounts of precipitation in a very short time. The rainfall totals have been absolutely staggering. Parts of western Washington and northwest Oregon have received over 10 inches of rain in just 72 hours. Seattle itself was hit with 12 to 16 inches of rain during this period. To put that in perspective, that's more rain than many areas typically see in several months. The Portland International Airport recorded over 2 inches in just 24 hours. And the Olympia Regional Airport broke daily records with over 3 inches on December 8 alone. The impact on rivers has been catastrophic. The Snohomish River at Snohomish has reached a record high of 34 feet, shattering the previous record of 33.5 feet. When the river reaches 33 feet or higher at this location, floodwaters are likely to overtop the levees, and major levee damage becomes possible. Emergency officials are monitoring this situation minute by minute as extreme pressure continues on these critical flood protection systems. The Skagit River is expected to crest at a record 47 feet in the mountain town of Concrete. To understand the severity, the threshold for major flooding along the Skagit is 32 feet. We're talking about water levels 15 feet above major flood stage. The Grays River in Waukegan County has already reached major flood stage, topping 32 feet when just 16 feet caused significant problems 2 years ago. Evacuation orders are in effect across multiple counties. Skagit County has ordered everyone in the Skagit River 100-year floodplain to evacuate to higher ground immediately. Parts of Mount Vernon, a city of about 35,000 people north of Seattle that has long been plagued by flooding, are in the evacuation zone. The Lummi Nation has declared its own state of emergency, warning that continued rainfall and flooding may result in the reservation becoming temporarily isolated. The National Weather Service has issued a stark warning, while the rain has finally begun to diminish as of Thursday morning. The major 2 catastrophic flooding effects are likely to continue for several days. Rivers don't recede immediately when the rain stops. The water that has already fallen must work its way through the river systems, and many rivers are still rising or will continue to crest over the next 48 hours. Over 300 Washington National Guard members have been deployed to assist with flood response operations. Water rescue teams have been working around the clock. Eastside Fire and Rescue conducted multiple dramatic helicopter rescues, including saving drivers who had become trapped in floodwaters, with one person climbing to the top of their car and another seeking refuge in a tree while waiting for help. At least 30 highways have been closed due to flooding. Interstate 90 near North Bend was temporarily shut down due to a mudslide that covered the road with debris. A 50-mile section of U.S. route that crosses the Cascade Range at Stevens Pass has been closed between Index and Coles Corner due to multiple landslides. Several sections of U.S. Route 12 in Lewis County are closed, which has isolated the town of Randall. Highway 101 along the Oregon coast has seen multiple closures due to high water flowing over the roadway. The flooding extends into Canada as well. 5 of the 6 highways leading into and out of Vancouver were closed due to flooding, fallen rock and debris, and high avalanche hazards. The British Columbia Ministry of Transport described the situation as evolving and very dynamic. In Abbotsford, just across the border in British Columbia's Fraser Valley, Hundreds of properties are at risk, with evacuation orders affecting over 370 properties in areas like Claiborne Village and Sumas Prairie. Major weather event number 2, Arctic air mass and polar vortex. Now, let's shift our focus to the central and eastern portions of North America, where an entirely different but equally impactful weather story is developing. An Arctic air mass of historic proportions is surging southward from northern Canada, bringing what meteorologists are calling the motherlode of cold air. This spring cold outbreak is directly related to a split in the polar vortex. The polar vortex is a large area of low pressure and cold air that typically circulates around the Earth's poles. When this vortex remains intact and strong, it keeps the coldest air locked up near the Arctic. However, when the polar vortex weakens or splits, as it has done recently, it allows segments of this frigid Arctic air to break away and plunge southward into lower latitudes. The coldest air of the season so far is on its way for portions of the Midwest, Tennessee Valley, and much of the Appalachians. In Minneapolis, actual temperatures may fail to climb above 0 Fahrenheit on Friday, with overnight lows plunging to between 10 and 20 degrees below zero Friday night and Saturday night. Chicago temperatures may barely reach the single digits on Saturday before dropping well below zero Saturday night. AccuWeather real field temperatures, which factor in wind chill and other conditions, could drop 10 to 20 degrees or more below the actual temperature. This creates genuinely dangerous conditions. Meteorologists are warning that exposure without adequate shelter in these conditions, especially with blustery winds, can lead to hypothermia or frostbite in less than 30 minutes. The Arctic blast is moving with impressive speed and intensity. In Calgary, Canada, temperatures are forecast to drop by more than 30 degrees Celsius in just 24 hours, plummeting from plus 5 degrees Celsius on Thursday to minus 25 degrees Celsius on Friday. This is the type of rapid temperature change that catches people off guard and creates hazardous situations. This bitterly cold Canadian air will expand southeastward from the Midwest into the mid-Atlantic Southeast and Gulf Coast regions by Monday, December 15th. Temperatures are expected to be 25 to 35 degrees below normal across these areas. Wind chills may dip as low as the teens as far south as the southeastern Atlantic and Gulf Coasts, Sunday night into Monday morning. For areas like Marathon and Schreiber in northern Ontario along Lake Superior, Environment Canada has issued special weather statements calling for significant snowfall. 10 to 15 centimeters of snow are expected today into tonight, with snow squalls blowing snow and hazardous travel conditions along Highway 17. The lake effect enhancement off Lake Superior is creating particularly dangerous driving conditions, with rapidly changing visibility and snow-covered pavement. Winter storm systems and snow, adding to the wintry conditions. A fast-moving clipper system is bringing heavy snow and high winds across the upper Midwest. The National Weather Service forecasts snowfall amounts of 4 to 8 inches from the northeastern corner of North Dakota through the central Great Lakes region. This clipper system is quickly intensifying, producing an expanding area of very strong and gusty winds to accompany the snow. By Friday morning, this maturing clipper will move into the lower Great Lakes, spreading wintry weather into the interior northeast. Rain is forecast farther south across the Ohio Valley, moving into the northern mid-Atlantic later in the day. Winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories have been issued across 9 states, with some areas potentially seeing up to 14 inches of accumulation in the highest terrain. Lake effect. Snow is becoming a significant factor downwind of Lakes Erie in Ontario. The combination of Arctic air moving over the relatively warmer lake waters creates ideal conditions for heavy, localized snowbands. These lake effect snows can produce whiteout conditions and several feet of accumulation in narrow bands, while areas just miles away see little to no snow. Nor'easter moving through the northeast is bringing the season's first widespread snowfall to many cities. Forecasters are projecting 3 to 6 inches across areas including Scranton, Albany, and Worcester, with heavier totals exceeding 6 inches in the southern Green and White Mountains. Localized amounts could reach up to 12 inches in the highest elevations. 3-day forecast looking ahead to the next 3 days. Here's what you need to know. Friday, December 13th. The Arctic air continues its southward march. Northern Plains states will see actual temperatures in the single digits, with sub-zero wind chills. The Great Lakes region experiences heavy lake effect snow, with dangerous travel conditions. The Pacific Northwest continues to deal with major river flooding, despite drier weather moving in. Expect mostly sunny skies across the southeast and Florida, but temperatures will begin dropping as the cold front approaches. Saturday, December 14th, the coldest morning of the outbreak for many areas. Sub-zero temperatures and dangerous wind chills across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. The cold air reaches the mid-Atlantic and interior Northeast with temperatures 15 to 25 degrees below normal. Lake effect snow continues but begins to decrease. Rivers in the Pacific Northwest remain at elevated levels with ongoing flood warnings. The western United States sees above normal temperatures with sunshine continuing. Sunday, December 15th, bitterly cold air expands into the southeast and Gulf Coast, with temperatures 25 to 35 degrees below normal. Morning wind chills could reach the teens as far south as the Gulf Coast. Snow is likely across parts of the Northeast as another system moves through. The extreme cold will make any new snowfall particularly fluffy and powdery. The Pacific Northwest begins a slow recovery, though flood warnings remain in many locations. Across Canada, exceptionally cold conditions persist from Alberta eastward through Ontario and Quebec. Severe weather and hazard outlook for today, December 12th. The Storm Prediction Center indicates that severe thunderstorm potential is too low to warrant outlooks across most of the country. The cold air mass and winter weather pattern are not conducive to severe thunderstorm development. This pattern is expected to continue through the weekend, with severe weather potential remaining very low. The primary hazards over the next 72 hours include life-threatening cold and wind chills across the central and eastern United States and much of Canada. Hypothermia and frostbite can occur in minutes with exposed skin. Residents should limit time outdoors, dress in layers, and check on vulnerable neighbors and relatives. Ongoing catastrophic river flooding in western Washington and parts of Oregon. Even though the rain has ended, rivers will remain dangerously high for days. Do not attempt to drive through flooded roadways. Turn around, don't drown. Just 6 inches of moving water can knock you down, and 12 inches can carry away a small car. Hazardous winter travel conditions from the northern plains through the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. Heavy snow, blowing snow, and ice-covered roads will make travel extremely dangerous. If you must travel, keep a winter emergency kit in your vehicle including blankets, food, water, a flashlight, and a phone charger. Lake effect snow producing localized whiteout conditions and rapid accumulation downwind of the Great Lakes. These snow bands can be very narrow, so conditions can change dramatically over very short distances. Climate context, throats. It's worth noting that atmospheric rivers, while a natural phenomenon, are being intensified by climate change. Research shows that a warming atmosphere holds more moisture, enabling atmospheric rivers to transport and dump higher totals of rain and snow. Studies have found that rainstorms are getting more intense in many U.S. cities due to climate change. The record-breaking flooding this week in Washington is consistent with these trends, with many locations seeing 24-hour precipitation totals well above the 100-year occurrence interval. Closing, 2. The weather pattern over the next week will be dominated by these two major themes: flooding recovery in the Pacific Northwest and dangerous cold across the central and eastern portions of the continent. However, forecasters indicate that significant changes are ahead. Upper-level high pressure is expected to expand over the country from the west, allowing temperatures to moderate substantially by midweek next week. Much of the lower 48 may see above normal temperatures by Wednesday and Thursday, creating what's being called a December thaw. Stay weather aware, follow all evacuation orders, take the cold seriously if you're in affected areas, and check back with SkyAlert USA for continued updates. Remember, weather can change rapidly, so always have multiple ways to receive weather warnings and alerts. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next update.